Good afternoon, US. Good evening, UK. And welcome to Paranormal Path Peeps. And tonight we've got Preston Dennett. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you know I spoke to you exactly a year ago?
Oh, really?
It
Wow.
came up on my Facebook. So, I'm just drawn to speak to people and check the calendar for, are you available? When are you available? Oh, this date. And it's just really weird that it's like exactly a year on since I last spoke to you.
Nice.
So
Synchronicity. I love it.
I know it's cool, isn't it? It isn't yet, but things happen. So you've been doing how long have you been looking into the this side of things, the UFO side of things?
Yikes. Most of my life, actually. Uh, let's see, it's over 35 years now. It's about
Wow.
35 years, yeah.
Okay, so what actually got you involved in that?
It was definitely not something I was looking for. I really had no interest in UFOs or anything paranormal. I was skeptical. I just didn't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, in life after death or psychic abilities or definitely not UFOs. I was very kind of a materialist, very scientifically minded. I knew how far away the stars were. I was into astronomy from a very young age, but just didn't believe that we were being visited until November 17, 1986. I
Wow.
remember, yeah, I remember the exact day actually. I was 21 years old, and I have a pretty large family. There's six kids. My parents, my mom had passed away, so there were seven of us at this point. But at any rate, the evening news was on, and a news report came on talking about a sighting over Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I later found out a lot more information about it. It was a really good sighting with radar confirmation and multiple witnesses and quite a few details to it. But in the news report, it was very brief. They really just joked about this pilot who thought he saw a UFO.
Right.
They showed his picture, Captain Kenju Chirochi. I'll never forget because I
Oh wow.
remember, yeah, seeing his picture and thinking, that poor man, he's lying,
Yeah, you
or,
do, don't you? Just making it up. Yeah.
or he's misperceiving. He got highway hypnosis up in the air. He's seeing a reflection off the ice cap. These thoughts are going through my head. Uh, which are all ridiculous explanations, really, once you know about this actual case,
Yeah.
JAL Airlines. But at any rate, I remembered that my older brother, Marco, had said he'd seen a UFO, and that was some years earlier. So I approached him, maybe it was a few days later, said, Marco, did you hear about this crazy pilot? He thinks he saw a UFO like you did. And
Oh
Mark,
wow.
Mark said, I did see a UFO. I tried to tell you. And I remember that. Yeah, I remember when he came running into the house. He's like, I saw one on this treetop level. And I'm like, go away. You did not. You're crazy if you think you saw a UFO.
Yeah.
So now I'm talking to him. He says, oh, yeah. I told you you want. I'm like, tell me again. And he described this amazing sighting, Jacqueline. He described seeing a metallic saucer very close, treetop
Wow.
level, just 100 feet away, 200. uh, totally quiet, silent. The little
Wow.
lights around it, yeah, a dome on top. And he chased it in his car along with his two friends who were with him, Phil and
Oh my
Greg, and chased it for like 15 minutes. It would stop in the road, wait for them.
oh
And
my God.
yeah, as soon as they got close to it, it would dart ahead again. And they weren't the only ones chasing it. There were several cars. And
Wow.
so he describes all this. I'm like, Mark, are you kidding me? He's like, no, no. If you don't believe me, go ahead. Call Phil, call Greg. Those were his friends. I knew them
Yeah.
fairly well. They would come over. And I did. He gave me their numbers and I called them up.
You would do, yeah.
Yeah. And they totally confirmed Mark's story. And I remember thinking, well, Mark's not lying. Don't think he's misperceiving. It's not a hallucination. What else could it be?
Yeah.
I started asking other people within my family. And friends and coworkers for that matter. And I found out. I mean, it all hit pretty hard. I found out I
Yeah.
had a couple of both my sister-in-laws had well, one had a sighting and an encounter with, what we now know are grays.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she kept that secret from me.
Yeah. It's not a thing. It's easy to talk about, is it? Then, it's still difficult now, but then would have been really hard.
Yeah, I
What
asked her about
size of it do you think?
that. What size?
Yeah, like a car size or a lorry or larger than that?
The UFO that my brother saw was about the size of a pickup truck, maybe he
Yeah.
described. Perhaps
Wow.
a bit bigger than that. Uh, and my sister-in-law saw kind of unexplained lights, and later two gray ETs outside her home. That was in Van Nuys. This is all in Southern California.
Wow.
And my other sister-in-law said that she saw little short blue beings when she was a young girl. They would come into her room and leave. She saw them, at least a dozen times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Is it a hot spot in that area then?
It turns out, yes,
Okay.
it is a hot spot. I was wondering about that. I'm like, how can I know so many people? 'Cause I had friends who had sightings. I had
Yeah.
people at work. Some of them had missing time. Could had a very close up sighting and had some amnesia involved with it. They lost time, which, if you know this field at all, that's a clue that you've had an
Yeah.
onboard experience. So I did later find out that my hometown, Topanga Canyon, where I was living at that time, does have a long history of sightings, and would just a few years later have a massive wave of sightings that earned international headlines. I mean, it was a crazy wave of sightings that lasted 2 years. Not just sightings,
Okay.
landings, and cars being chased down the road, and people being taken on board. And I
Oh
mean,
my
it was
gosh.
amazing.
So why? I know it's a tough question, but why do you think that area was so attractive to them? Is it a mineral source? Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that was my question too.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, I started because I I don't know. I had a couple people tell me, "Oh, there's a vortex there," but again, still being scientifically minded. What's a
Yeah.
vortex? What does
Yeah.
that even mean? uh, and other people said, "Well, I think there's a base in the mountains." I had three people tell me that, some of who were what you would call contactees. I thought, huh.
Wow.
Three or four people told me this. I'm like, maybe there's something to that. I did investigate whether or not there was anything geologically strange about that area. There's a couple of things. It's a transverse mountain range, which is
Okay.
quite rare
Yeah.
in the way it's facing. But I didn't see how that was particularly significant. There are high uh, deposits, large deposits of crystals, quartz crystals. Maybe that's a draw.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ultimately, I kind of settled on the concept or the speculation that there might be some sort of base, if not in the mountains, perhaps undersea off the coast,
Yeah.
or just, I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I can tell you there's high levels of
Yeah.
activity, and there are certain places all across the U.S. and the world where which are more conducive to activity for some reason. Perhaps it's the magnetic field lines that these craft, I think, do use to sort of travel, that
Okay.
they appear more prominently in one area over another. Because let's see, Sedona, Arizona. That is a huge hotspot. The San Luis Valley in Colorado, upstate New York. I mean, there are
Upstate
certain,
New York.
yeah, or
Oh wow.
the Welsh Triangle. You may have heard of that in
All
Wales.
right. Yeah.
There's
Gosh.
certain
Yeah.
areas, for whatever reason, that have high levels of activity.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we've got Eric sort of says like UFO, like once it's recognised, it's not a UFO.
Oh,
But it's saying about ley lines, and could they if they go along the ley lines?
yeah, there's been some research
Sort
into
of
that as well. I mean, with the Stonehenge and all the interesting
Oh
geological
yeah,
features that are kind of following ley lines.
yeah. I did have a question about the hieroglyphs, because obviously there's glyphs they're in like Mexico, and the pyramids are in Egypt and probably other places. And they do show images, don't they?
Oh yeah, I think that's
So,
one of many pieces of evidence that we have.
and they're linked to the planets a lot. A lot of the buildings are in alignment to the planets, the solar system. And
Exactly, and
yeah, it's just yeah,
like the Great Pyramid. Actually, if you look up the uh, declination, what do you call it? The actual geological locations of it. That is the speed of light. It comes out mathematically to the speed of light. No kidding. Someone told me that. I'm like,
wow,
you're making this up. No. And the pyramids, of Giza and the Great Pyramid are all lined up, three in a row with one slightly off center, and other little markers there that show it corresponds directly to the Orion
yeah.
constellation, which has been named by many contactees as being one of the Greys planets. I was just transcribing an interview before
Oh
this
wow,
show where contactee was told that by his father, who worked for NASA, and that was the scuttlebutt. His father said that NASA had identified the Orion constellation in that regard. So,
yeah. I think the Mexican pyramids have a similar lineup as well to Orion, don't they? Um,
pretty
there's
interesting, isn't it?
there's the observatory in Chichen Itza that's lined up, and then we've got the other pyramids lined up to the autumn and summer equinox. Well, to the equinoxes anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's
yeah,
really interesting because also, like you mentioned, the hieroglyphs. Some are clearly showing what we
yeah.
would think of as modern day flying saucers.
There couldn't be anything else. It's like you can't. No. It's a shape and everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
They're fascinating.
it's pretty obvious. So, some very
Yeah.
good evidence that they've been around for a very long time. The
And
ETs.
since we have no idea how these pyramids were actually done, but they don't. The whole structure of them doesn't make sense. How sort of ancient civilizations managed to sort of do these with
Yeah,
the tools that they apparently had, whether they've lost methods of doing things.
yeah,
Uh,
a lot of speculation on how they came to be built. I'd like
yeah,
to know for sure, but
the
uh,
alien. It's a good one though, and with the aliens, being around there and who knows what really.
well, if you look at the Egyptian, stone carvings and hieroglyphs, uh, it's clear that they were in contact with what we call now the Anunnaki, tall winged beings, and
Yeah,
Ra and Anubis, and these humanoid figures, which are different. They're not quite human.
yeah,
Cat-like beings, dog-like beings, bird-like beings, and modern-day contactee accounts. In fact, the lady I did an interview with that I think you mentioned before the show, Dolly Saffron. I wrote a whole book about her case. She met some of these guys personally, face to face,
wow.
and she's not the only one. Many people have seen these guys. So
And they're
yeah,
the ones who've just come out and mentioned it, because there'll be loads who haven't mentioned it.
most, yeah, I
Yeah,
would say
there.
99 out of 100 are very much silent about it. They don't tell anybody. I can tell you because I've interviewed several hundred contactees, and almost always the first thing they will say is, I have a good job. I've got no history of mental illness. I
Oh
haven't told
gosh.
anybody this. I haven't even told my spouse. Please don't use my name.
Oh bless you. Yeah.
Yeah. So most people do not talk, unfortunately. That's changing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is originally paranormal. You don't mention it. You can't, and it's frowned upon, wasn't it, years ago? And yeah, you'd just be locked up in an asylum, wouldn't you? You say you're
Yeah.
speaking to something, that was it, or you're possessed and all that. But yeah, luckily, things are coming out into the open. But it's still not easy. Yeah. Some
Yeah.
circles, in some jobs, you're not going to go and say, "Oh, yeah, I spoke to a ghost last night." It's not really on, is it?
No, I did actually interview a lady from England who had a healing. She had hip dysplasia, but as a young girl, she was healed and later had contact and made the mistake of telling her parents. Well, this lady had just had a new baby, and her parents freaked out, took her baby away, and put the mother into a mental institution. She ended up having
Oh,
to
my
move to Canada to just get free from all the harassment. She had witnesses to support her case, and her parents did not care. They thought she was crazy.
That's shocking. Were they deeply religious or something like that? Or just,
Um, Gosh, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I don't
yeah.
recall that. But yeah, they
Yeah,
just
'cause
weren't ready.
sometimes if there's a strict upbringing, and like, oh no, that's not, and everything's got to conform, hasn't it? And then like all of a sudden, oh no, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I have
Can't
interviewed
have
people
that in
who
front of the friends, can they?
yeah, I've interviewed people who were deeply religious and had a real hard time with it. And some ended up abandoning their religion because there just was no place for their experiences to
Yeah,
interpret or categorize them in their strict religious upbringing. Uh, so that does happen, yeah.
yeah. It's just trying to make sense of everything that people encounter, and they can't. And I'm glad they can talk to you, or for some people who like can't talk to anyone, it's not good, is it? It's just a hard thing to live with when you can't speak to anyone or there's no one you can trust. And yeah,
Yeah, there was a
that's
couple
really
once who
sad.
called me from Eastern Canada, the Nova Scotia area, and they really wanted someone to talk to. They had called a couple of other investigators, UFO researchers, who were really just more interested in their story. And my
Oh,
first priority is really always just let's help this person
that's
if I
lovely.
can. Yeah, because a lot of people just want someone to talk to. That's all. Just want a few questions answered or some support because they had had an experience where they lost their baby. She had a pregnancy and then it went missing. Uh,
Oh God.
yeah, this is something that does happen with contactees, and it's definitely happened with this poor young couple. They were freaking
Oh,
out, so I was happy to be there for them. They did eventually grant me an interview, but yeah,
oh, bless you. Yeah.
my first priority was, how can I help you?
Wow. That that's such a tough one. Well, for you, and God, how they can live. That's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, they ended up being okay with it. She felt like her baby had been taken to well, a good place, was being well taken care of, and she was later taken on board and did get to meet the child.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
initially it was quite traumatic for both of them. The husband, uh, strangely, was more traumatized than the wife, but I think that's because she had already had many experiences with what she would call light beings coming into her room.
Right. Okay.
And he was kind of a
Oh,
nuts and bolts guy, a little skeptical. He came around, that's for sure, after having this experience.
oh my gosh. I see. I've got a question from Van Hunter. Sorry, I'm a bit behind on comments as usual. Um, from your experience, would you consider the UAP to be friendly?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is my conclusion based objectively on the people I have interviewed and really looking deeply at what happens when a person is taken on board. Because initially, when I got into this field, I'm like, wow, this is a little scary. This is
Yeah.
concerning. Are people being taken on board, kidnapped?
Medical experiments, or I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
was kind of my thought. But the media spins this subject to a
Oh,
fear based narrative, which is not supported by the evidence. It really isn't. When someone is taken on board, yes, it can be scary.
of
Certainly
course it's
won't
going
deny
to be.
that.
Yeah.
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 So you will see people who feel like this is a negative experience initially. I'm going to underline that at first because they don't quite understand what's going on. It's very scary for them. These people that are with them, the grays or what have you, look a little different. And they're
Definitely.
laid out on a table and being physically examined. And no one likes that, even
Yeah.
at a normal hospital. But my first book, Jacqueline, was UFO healings, 100
Oh,
cases of people healed,
wow.
because I was getting a lot of cases of this right off the bat. And I later put out a new book just recently, The Healing Power of UFOs, because I've got over 300 cases. And this is what's going on when a person is taken on board and being physically examined. It's all about healing. It really is. And you don't have to believe me. Look at the cases. They are out there.
That's right.
Every, yeah, I'm telling you, we, UAPs, UFOs, I'll call them what they are, extraterrestrial craft. Extraterrestrials are not something to be afraid of. Quite the contrary, they've been around for millennia. An onboard experience is overall a very good thing, because it's not only involving healing, it involves guidance and teaching and a
Wow.
spiritual transformation and awakening unlike any other. And I can tell you
Wicked.
the real danger is our own governments. It's the own people here on Earth where uh, I think we have to worry about. But ETs are not here to take over. No evidence of that,
Well, put it this way: if they were going, they would have done it.
right? I mean,
Totally. I'm sure they've got the capabilities if they want to. Definitely.
precisely. Yeah. I mean,
So,
it's even that's one of the things. If you ask a little child that, that's one of the first conclusions they come to. If you ask them, well, do you think they're friendly? No. They don't think they're here to take over. It's very obvious to me now that I've done the research that we have nothing to worry about from on the part of the ETs. It's our governments who are covering this up and putting false information, disinformation, and misinformation and outright
yeah.
hoaxes. I mean, they seriously are putting forth some very negative accounts, which aren't true.
Yeah, that's it. I think if people are scared, then they're going to do things like that anyway, aren't they? Like they'll just create some rubbish to make people more like weary and back off more,
Yeah.
just to scare like the population and things like that.
Yeah. Some people do have a lot of fear, like I mentioned. And
Yeah,
initially, they're
well,
like, oh
yeah.
my God, I'm
I'm,
scared. But then they
I'm
keep having
sorry. I'm sorry. You're in your house, and then all of a sudden you go up there.
these.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
scared.
I
I have
totally
to
get
say,
it. But at
yeah.
some point, I'm going to say, well, at least 90 to 95% of the people who've had repeated onboard experiences or face to face encounters will at some point, maybe it's their fourth or fifth experience, realize, oh my gosh, they're not hurting me, they're healing me. They
Oh,
start having a wide variety of psychic abilities manifesting. So
wow.
they'll start having astral projection. That's very common. Or healing abilities, or something along those lines, clairvoyance, mediumship, precognition, even actual physical levitation. I just did a whole study on that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because like I'm studying mediumship, and a lot of people are, and even mediums, they just work on it, meditation, but we don't know how we're achieving it, and we don't actually know who we're communicating with, do we?
Yeah, not always.
You say it's spirit, but like, you know, could it be greys or you don't know who's putting these ideas into your head, giving you the images.
Yeah, well, it's important, I think, that we always use discernment. And ultimately, true knowledge does come from personal experience.
Yeah.
And the more experience you have, the more you realize. Of course, there are bad spirits and good spirits.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and with humans, same thing. But when
That's right.
with ETs, they have achieved an incredible technological ability and level to be able to travel interstellar, between star systems. And once you've reached that level of technology, uh, you also have reached a level of moral and spiritual and ethical maturity.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have killed yourself off like we're in danger of doing here
Well,
with
that's
our.
it. Like the atmosphere to come in. Like, obviously, like we've got spaceship coming down, one of our own, and you're coming through, and it like burns up as soon as it hits the, as soon as it comes into a certain space, doesn't it? And yeah, they can deal with that, and obviously they've got the materials what will help them do that,
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
can go back to where they are. And yeah, it's
yeah. I really want people to look very,
fascinating.
very carefully at the onboard UFO experience, because the first thing ETs will tell you when they come to you is, "Don't be afraid. Have no fear. Everything's fine. Calm down. No harm will come to you. We're not going to hurt you." They do their best to calm a person down, but we're so fear-based here. It's very difficult, especially in the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. I've got Kelly. She said a girlfriend was taken. She remembers that. So wow,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
It's so much more common than people realize. Uh,
Yeah.
it
I,
really is.
wow.
Yeah, millions. I'm talking millions, if not. I mean, I talked to a guy in England. He absolutely certain. He's from Cumbria, England. I
Yeah.
can't remember his real name, but he's like had lots of onboard experiences, and he's seen a lot of people up there. He says, I think pretty much everybody is a contactee to some degree. And some of the other contactees I've interviewed who are able to remember their experiences without fear have come to the same conclusion.
My
At some
gosh.
level, all of us are known by the ETs. Some have more degrees of contact, more awareness of it, but all of us have had some level of contact.
Gosh.
That includes you, Jacqueline.
Well, we don't know what contact we have when we sleep, do we? You
That's
know,
another thing. Yeah. Um,
you don't know.
I would encourage people to do that. This is a major ET mission. This is one of the reasons they are bringing people on board. It's very much about healing, but it's also about their efforts to wake people up to their own psychic abilities. I'm not sure I even like that term psychic, because these are just natural human things.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but they are very much hoping that we start using our abilities of telepathy. Can you imagine if the whole human race was telepathic? Because we are. Telepathy has been proven in a laboratory setting.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I've done it before. Where yeah, like back in the day when like it was the landlines and I knew the phone was going to ring. I knew who was on it. And you you do get that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if we were all telepathic, well, we'd know who's ever lying. So greed and corruption and divisiveness and all of the ills that are plaguing us today would fall by the wayside very quickly. So this is one of the ET agendas, because when a person is taken on board, and here's more evidence that this is absolutely a good experience. If a person gets a message beyond "Don't be afraid, we're not going to hurt you," it is along the lines of warnings of nuclear proliferation, warnings about the dangers of war, greed, corruption, aggression, uh, warnings against pollution and the destruction of the environment. All of these are messages people get quite a bit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the most common thing people are told beyond, don't be afraid. So this is another really good indication that this is why they're here.
Well, yeah, we certainly need them the way things are going. Like, humans have really screwed up the environment, haven't they?
Yes, yeah, it's
Totally.
unfortunate. Yep, the
Yeah.
garbage dump in the ocean and
Oh God,
all the
no.
DDT and all organic material on this planet. It's quite,
Yeah.
doesn't need to be this way either. We just let
No,
love.
I
Yeah,
think like the creation of like convenient stuff, like back in the day they had paper bags. You went shopping paper bags, and then of course they bring this better plastic, and that's kind of destroying the earth, isn't it? Things like that.
yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate because corporations are much more interested in making money than in the welfare of humanity, and
Yeah.
it's hurting everyone involved, including all the people who are, the heads of these corporations.
Well, yeah, it's just money and what they can get out of it, and I don't care about the Earth half the time. Yeah, Eric. It's actually a cat ball. No idea why it's going off. It's been doing it. I've just had a mediumship lesson. It's been doing it then as well. So, but my dad does like cat balls. So I will move it in a minute and show you just what it is. So basically, the cat ball. Oh, just as go and touch it. So it's just that. Okay, so it should be motion sensor. There's no reason for it to go off. Of course, it'll settle, and yeah.
Well, spirits can do that, and so can ETs. Electromagnetic effects are a
Oh,
big part of,
okay.
you know, ET contact. When
I
someone
kind
has
of
a
blame
UFO.
I blame my dad for this one, but I don't know. You know, I think with my dad, like I'll go, "Can you stop it?" and it will stop immediately. And
Oh, wow.
like if other spirits come on it, you say stop, and there's a slight delay, and I kind of know my dad's energy as well. So yeah.
Very interesting.
Now Luke's amazing. Now I need to definitely go on these. So Luke puts on a CE5 meet up in Nottinghamshire. So they go and sit in a forest and then see what they get, and they've actually had some good stuff come up.
Yeah, I started doing CE5 work very early on in my research because I'm like,
Wow.
wait, what? Wait a second, you can call these things down? This is a great opportunity for live field work, for seeing this yourself. Because it's certainly one thing to talk to your brother or your sister or a friend or even someone you don't know that well, or read about it, or
Yeah.
watch a podcast. But if you really want to know that UFOs are real, ETs, you can. And CE5 has been done for decades.
Yeah. I want to go. I live near Luke. He's about 5 miles away from me, so I do want to go and do a CE5. Yeah, because it's only what we do with paranormal. You know, you just go in a room and you ask questions, and if you're quiet, you catch more, don't you? So in a forest and like doing meditation, I think, and just calling, then yeah, I want to
Yeah,
do
oh,
this.
it was so thrilling when I started seeing this stuff. I'm like, oh, wow, this is real. And it's
Oh, that's
funny
brilliant.
because, I was interviewing a lot of people, and some would say, my house is haunted. I said, wait, ghosts? I didn't really want to go there, but,
Yeah,
being someone who's interested in this from the scientific viewpoint, you can't throw away evidence. You have to listen to what people are saying and investigate it from that point, not the opposite, not vice versa. First, you gather the evidence, then you form the theory. So, very early on, I started researching ghosts as well. And I eventually did go to haunted places and
wow.
experienced activity. And I've seen UFOs, I've seen ghosts. Uh, I
Yeah.
started researching Bigfoot as well and all
Well,
aspects
that's
of
right.
it.
I think like anybody who believes in one thing, like if you believe in spirit, then how can you say that Bigfoot doesn't exist? How can you say that UFOs don't exist? Because a lot of people say spirits don't exist, and you know what I mean. If just because you haven't seen it and you haven't experienced, doesn't mean it's not around there.
Yeah, it's funny because I realized a pattern with skeptics. They don't examine the evidence. By
No,
and
you
large,
you
they
find
don't.
a reason for it. There's always a reason.
Yeah, there's a few exceptions to that, but I am absolutely convinced that if you're a skeptic and you are willing to put your preconceptions aside, your beliefs, and just look at the evidence uh, for UFOs or ghosts or Bigfoot or life after death, all of this, the evidence is there.
Yeah,
People are like waiting for disclosure. I'm like, hold on a second. We've pretty much already had it. The evidence is absolutely conclusive, and it's in the public arena for those who are willing to examine it objectively. And that's difficult for people sometimes because this does affect your worldview. This
yeah,
can really affect your, religious beliefs or,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, it's what I would call a core belief.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's the foundation of a lot of people. It's how people are brought up, and then all of a sudden, you've got something around which you've been told all your life that doesn't exist, and
yeah.
then oh, okay.
It
something
shook me
wrong.
up. Oh boy,
Uh,
I was so
and, it,
mad.
and it makes you question everything else, doesn't it, what you've been told?
100%. Yeah, my
You
belief
know,
system basically collapsed, and I became, ironically, more skeptical because I thought, well, I've been lied to all through my childhood up into adulthood. I was pretty young when I found out UFOs were real. I was 21.
wow, yeah,
So I think that helped a little bit. But yeah, since then I've become much more, I would say, in a weird way, skeptical.
yeah,
Uh, Not so much like in a debunking way, but anytime anyone says anything, I really want to verify it because beliefs are one thing and knowledge is another.
that's it, definitely. And it's easy to change your beliefs, isn't it? If you see something and well, you have a belief you hold for ages, but then sometimes it just changes suddenly, doesn't it? When you can't you can't
Yeah,
deny what's happened, and that's
I
that.
think I really turned a corner when I sat down with my sister-in-law and she
Oh.
described her UFO sighting, and I'm like, anything else? And she's like looking at me. I'm like, what? And she says, well, I did have this experience, which I mentioned briefly earlier. She was outside her home in Van Nuys, and she saw what she thought were two children standing in front of Stagg Street Elementary School. This was late at night. It was dark. And so she's walking up to them thinking it's awfully late for two kids to be out because they were short. And she's like, wow, they look bald and their skin is so white. Could they be wearing Halloween masks? It's nowhere near Halloween. It was summer. And she got real close to them and she was about 10 feet away when they turned and looked at her. They were floating about an inch off the ground, wearing olive green jumpsuits. They had enormous bulbous heads, large, dark, wraparound eyes, almost no
Wow.
nose or mouth, very tiny facial features, and just looked right at her. She locked gazes with them. And she says, they weren't
Wow.
human, Weston. They were not human.
Yeah.
So what was really interesting is as she's describing this, I, of course, had picked up a few books on grays. And
Wow.
so I'm like, oh my gosh, if she describes, a slit for a mouth and a jumpsuit and all of this, I'm going to lose my mind. And of course, she goes right down the list. I'm like, oh my God, you saw grays. You realize that? And she's like, what? Because there was nothing in the media at that time about, gray ETs. Not really. There was a few books, but it certainly wasn't on TV like it is now.
No. Well, yeah. And if it was, it's so silly as well, wasn't it? You know,
Yeah. And
like
I knew
comic.
her well. I knew she wasn't lying. I knew
Yeah.
she'd never read a UFO book in her life. I mean, she's my brother's wife. I adore her. I know for a fact that she had never heard of this.
Wow. That's amazing. It really is. Wow. Um. Okay, we've got quite a few questions from Kelly. Then. She says, "Do you think that as humans we landed on the moon?"
Yes. Yeah, I
You
do.
think we did?
My father's best friend really researched this. He ended up writing
Wow.
books about the whole Gemini and Apollo project. And I've certainly looked into it because I did interview some NASA insiders.
Wow.
We 100% went to the moon. There's no
Oh,
doubt about it.
fantastic. Yeah.
What we found up there,
Yeah.
well, that's a different story because I think they did find some, I'll just call it alien artifacts or technology in terms
Oh,
of
okay.
abandoned bases of some kind that, from my understanding, were quite old, but absolutely represented artificial structures that were not human. And if you
Wow.
look at the contactee literature, and certainly I've interviewed several people who have reported this, there is stuff up there on the moon, and NASA is covering it up. So yeah, we
Wow.
went to the moon, but we weren't told the truth about what they found up there.
That's fascinating. It's not something I would have thought of because, yeah, you always think, well, why aren't people, well, why isn't something living on the moon? But then if structures were found, it's a shame
Yeah,
that, I think people now are ready to hear this news.
I think so. This is going to
You
come
know,
out one day. The UFO cover up is one thing, but what they've covered up about the moon is That's gonna
Yeah.
shock a lot of people. Because I remember when I interviewed this guy who was a petty photographer on the ships that picked up the astronauts, and they bumped
Yeah.
up his security to top secret, and he saw photographs. He talked to the astronauts themselves, and that was my first real experience with stuff on going on with the moon. And I did my research. I started buying all the books and
Fantastic.
interviewing other people and finding out. It was another real shock. This whole field, you just go through a series of shocks as you realize all of this is
Yeah.
real.
I think like what you mentioned, like some of the things you mentioned last time, you think, oh my gosh, you don't realize that. I didn't realize about the moon, and like yeah, there were other structures on there because it is hidden, and you don't always think or question, do you? Well, you do obviously, but people don't tend to, do they?
Oh yeah, I dug deep. I mean, I looked at this astronomer reports reaching back to the 1600s. Do you know when we first invented telescopes, they started seeing lights on the moon and the surface being altered in some way? The evidence for this is outstanding. I mean, it
Wow,
really is. There are dozens upon dozens of books talking all about this. And so, yeah, I'm
interesting.
absolutely convinced that it can't be hidden forever. The truth has a way of taking care of itself.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
You can cover it up, you can alter it, you can try to hide it, but at some point it will come out.
Oh wow. I'd given up. I thought that had just been placed funny, which is why it was going off all the time. But then it went off on its own just then, so no, something messing around with it. Um, Kelly as well. Do you think they walk amongst us?
I do. I do. I think there are enough reports of this. I first started getting an inkling of that when I wrote UFOs over New York, which is, one of several states I've written the history of UFO activity. And I had several cases. I mean, there was a case from Bud Hopkins, a very well-known researcher who had a lady who saw an ET on a subway. And I
Wow.
found one at Penn Station, one at a restaurant, and I started digging deeper. There was cases of ETs in public places, places you would never ever expect, bus stations and gas
And
stations.
everyone could see them. And
To a certain extent, yeah. Um,
wow.
this is a pretty controversial area, but
Yeah.
hard to verify conclusively. But if you look at the totality of the reports, it's clear that there's something to this. I mean, I'll just cite one case, which is like this, involving an ET at a schoolyard, because I wrote a book about encounters over schoolyards. And
Yeah.
there was a young lady who was attending Westchester High School in New York who was having experiences and was walking to school one day when she's just about to walk inside. And this guy taps her on the shoulder and she turns around and there's this really weird looking guy. He's dressed weird. He's very pale. He's got, very, very, really strange kind of almond shaped eyes, white hair, and starts asking her all these really out of place questions. So, like, would you like to go for a ride in my vehicle over there? And she looks and it's a field. There's no roads there. And she's like, no. And he started asking her, well, where are you going? She's like, school. I'm going to
Oh,
PE and going to play volleyball. And he's like, well, what's volleyball? And just, questions anyone should know. At any rate, she creeped out. She thought he was a weirdo.
yeah.
And to basically go away, I have to go to school. She turns around and starts to walk into school. And then she's thinking, God, that guy was weird. So she immediately turns around and he's gone. And
Wow.
there's no walls, there's no pillars, there's nothing around it. He could have disappeared that quickly.
My gosh.
So that freaked her out. And her friends come running up to her and said, who was that weirdo?
Oh, I saw him.
And yeah, so they saw him too. And she's like, I don't know. He was a creep. And there's a really interesting end note to this. It was a couple of weeks later, she saw the same guy at a liquor store, a convenience store. And he was staring at her. And that creeped her out. And it was just a short time after that, she was taken on board a craft. And guess who was on board? That same guy.
Wow.
So, yes, they do walk among us. And that's just one case of many, many I know of.
So potentially he was watching her then,
Yes. Yeah, it certainly appears that way.
testing her by, talking to her and seeing how she'd react, maybe, or I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And you got to remember, people think of ETs and they think, well, there's the little gray guys. Well, there's praying mantis types. There's human looking. There's tall whites. Charles
Wow.
Hall wrote a whole series of books about his experiences with them. He said they went to casinos. I did a whole study of that.
My
So,
gosh.
yeah, I mean, they're basically all humanoid. And I can tell you, having interviewed a lot of contactees, that more often than not, they will get the message at some point. The ETs will tell them, we are you. You are us. We are all one. We share the same genetics.
Wow.
That's true with grays. It's true with all beings throughout the universe. I go really deeply into this in my book Symmetry with Dolly Safran,
Yeah.
because she was given that message and she lived a lifetime of experiences with them. And she knows. I mean, her story is probably the most extensive I've ever had the opportunity to investigate. And she really verified a lot of things that I kind of already knew, but it was certainly encouraging to get confirmation once again about
Yeah.
all of this. Yeah.
And you just put a podcast through as well, haven't you? That went up on YouTube a few days ago.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
you're speaking to the actual lady who was in the book Symmetry. So, yeah, I kind of want to watch the rest of that. I started watching it. But yeah, I need to watch more. It's just so fascinating. It
I
really
love
is.
the subject. I think once you're drawn into the UFO subject, it's hard to get out because it's so fascinating.
Well, it's like me and Paranormal. Something happened to me, and that was it. I can't get away from it because I was scared to death that particular night. I was scared for like months after. But actually, I've got to go every week. I've got to go and experience more. And it's just mad. And like, this person had a bit of an encounter last weekend before last. And he was like, whoa, I'm not sure about this. And I had to actually contact him when he was on his way home because he was like freaking out a bit. He just messaged me and says, what happened, So I phoned them up and sorted it all out and stuff. And, then like the next day, I want to come back. It gets under your skin, doesn't it? Just a fascination of something.
I love it. I mean, this is actually really why I do this research.
Yeah.
Because for me, just on a personal level, finding out it was real was getting hit by a ton of bricks. I mean, it knocked me over.
Yeah.
It took me a year to get used to it. And honestly, it's 35 years later and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But I can only imagine how it must be for a person to be driving along a highway and when a UFO drops down and picks their car up, or an ET walks into their bedroom, or a ghost appears. I mean, it is shocking.
Yeah. It is weird because I just used to deny everything, and then once something happens and I can't deny it anymore, it's like, oh no, this is real. What do you do? Right. Mad,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
funny because denial is so powerful. One of the ladies at work, Dorothy is her name. She heard me talking to the other lady about UFOs, and she walks in like, "Oh, UFOs! One followed me home from the library." I'm like, "You're kidding, Dorothy? Tell me." And so she described this incredible story where she had exited the library. They know exactly what time because the library had just closed. She and her friend and her mom came to pick them up. And they drove home from the Pio Pico Library in Koreatown, this is in LA, and to their house, which is 5 minutes away. Let's say it's 10 at most. They left at 9 and got to their house. This UFO followed them over their car. I interviewed all three of them. They all gave the same description: a classic flying saucer, colored lights on it, a dome, maybe 50 feet above their car. They get home, go inside, and this craft darts back and forth a couple of times and then goes straight up at a 45-degree angle into the sky, straight up. It's a tiny little white dot in the sky, way up there, and off into the distance, it's gone. And one of them turns and looks at the clock, and it's 10:15. And I'm like, oh my God, where did the time go? So Dorothy's telling me this. She's like, I
Ah,
don't know where the
lovely.
time went. I'm like, Dorothy, do you know what this means? You were probably taken on board. This is like one of my first cases, so I was a little bit
Yeah.
excitable, let's put it that way. And she's like, oh my God. But I did end up interviewing all three, including her mother. And her mother was so funny because she says, yeah, when I pulled up, there was this thing hovering over the telephone wires across the street, but I don't believe in UFOs, just so you know. I'm like, that's all right. Tell me what you saw. She says, well, it was like two pie plates stuck together and had little colored lights on it. It
Oh
was
wow, that's nearly
totally
what I've seen. I've seen something similar. Which was weird. I was going down the main A road, 70 miles an hour, two lanes, so just going around it, and like right in front of me was this thing, and it's like something there and something there, and it's just staying with it. And it had lights there and lights there,
Oh, wow.
and it just wouldn't part from each other. Now, okay, I'm right near East Midlands Airport. I know what a plane looks like. I know what a helicopter looks like.
Right?
I spent all my life here. And it's the only time I've ever seen anything which I can't explain. You know, you're doing 70 miles an hour trying to focus on driving, but, you know, you're trying to look up as well. And, you know, I to this day don't know what it is. It was about the 80s. So, you know, people didn't put things out on social media. And, you know, you probably get a newspaper about 3 days later. Might be a little story there, but, you know, unless
You're
other
lucky.
people saw it, yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it's, you know, unless like now it'd be on social media, everyone's seen it, and then you think, well, what was it? You know, and you probably get a better explanation, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I
But
talked
yeah,
to one guy.
it was just two things like just stayed together, and I don't know.
I talked to one guy who had a really dramatic sighting. He and his friend up in the foothills of Granada Hills, which is the San Fernando Valley. There was a lot of people there,
Yeah,
and this was a very obvious, very low level sighting, and it quite scared them. They ran inside with the fear of God on them, and were shouting at their families, and it was clear that they had seen something, but they were scanning the newspapers and the TV the next day. There's nothing, no reports at all. He's like, how can this be? And I said,
yeah.
and I looked at him. I'm like, tell me, did you report this sighting to anybody? He's like, well, no, I didn't.
Does anyone else?
Yeah, exactly. Neither did the other 100 people who saw this.
Yeah.
It's what I'm thinking is often goes on.
Well, because like if you see something, and then the newspaper comes round, and you've got to give an account of it, and then everyone will go, "Oh, that's that person," and yeah, you just feel a bit silly, wouldn't you? Because it
Yeah,
is hard, you
the
know.
media is suppressing this as well
Oh gosh, yeah,
because I think deliberately. I mean, here's a good example of that. I wrote a book about UFOs over drive-in theaters because
oh
they will
wow,
show themselves off. They put on displays. They want people to know about them. But there was a case in Hutchinson, Kansas. It was in the Midwest somewhere over a drive-in theater. And like 200, 300 people saw it over 20 minutes. I mean, they chased it down the road, a whole convoy of cars. And the next day, several of them went to the newspaper's office. And the guy I interviewed knew this because he had worked for the newspaper, and no story appeared. So he went to the newspaper.
oh,
He was a photographer, an amateur, but he did work for them.
yeah,
He's like, where's the story about the flying saucer over the, South Hutch Theater? That's right, South Hutchinson, Kansas. And they said, what story? And he's like, what do you mean, what story? I know there's a story because I know at least 3 people who came in to tell you about it. They just played dumb, and the buzz throughout town, this was a pretty small town, was that the story had been quashed by military personnel who showed up wanting to know about it, but absolutely said, do not report this story.
yeah. I was in a bit of a riot. I was in Dublin, and it's all kicking off, and I was on O'Connell Street, and a riot was kicking off with an Orangeman marching, and we just flew out there for a nice weekend, but unfortunately the Orangeman went and it all kicked off. So I was actually in a pub on O'Connell Street watching Sky News showing it all happen, but like it got cut straight away because they don't want issues, happening around Ireland coming over to the UK. So they just kind of, just keep things quiet, don't they? They don't want people to know the truth half the time.
Yeah, that happened with the Roswell UFO crash in
Yeah.
1947. There was a guy on the radio talking about it, and the
Oh,
government folks came right in and said, "You shut that radio off, or we will shut it down for you."
yeah.
And there were people who were listening to this. This is verified because they've got the eyewitness testimony from people who were listening to this show, and then boom, off the air.
Wow, I didn't know that. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah,
But
the
wow.
Roswell case is,
Well, we've heard of Roswell, obviously,
yeah,
but yeah.
it's the case that keeps on giving.
Oh, definitely.
It was
Yeah.
not a mogul balloon, I can tell you
Oh,
that.
God. What about balloons at the moment? My God. China one. What on earth's going on there?
I do wish our governments would just get along. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
little
it's
ridiculous.
yeah. Apparently, there's at least two, weren't there? Because there's Southern and US as well, wasn't there? Two different balloons apparently, but I don't know. It's just I don't know what the intention is, but yeah, sure they do.
Yeah, I
Um,
can imagine what the ETs must think.
I know they're just a bit yeah. Luke, there's a lot of stories of paranormal activity when there's also UFOs in the same area. Who's to say it's not the ET's way of contact? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we've got Rendlesham Forest in the UK,
Mm.
which is that's got paranormal activity as well. So
It's
I
very
would love to go
interesting.
there.
There is a connection, I think, between some of these subjects. I don't think they're the same thing, as
No.
some researchers have postulated without really any supporting evidence to say that. But absolutely, there's weird connections there. I think what often happens is a person might have say, a near-death experience, and that opens up their psychic centers and transforms them, and they start, having mediumship,
Yeah.
and might even attract the attention of ETs. And it works both ways. A person might be taken on board, and the ETs are like, okay, we're going to help you develop your psychic abilities, because they speak to you with telepathy. And that alone is a very transformative experience. So, and that will wake up your psychic abilities. And so they'll
Yeah.
come contact, and they will start having mediumship abilities. And this is why, like, some people are like, well, I had a UFO encounter, and then I started seeing ghosts and shadow people and having astral experiences. They're different things, but they are connected in that way. That's basically my assessment after interviewing so many people and trying to figure out what is this connection here.
Yeah. So we had the conversation before we started. I had a really bizarre question, like, do they start off small, do they grow large? Do they exist like human? Start off not as a baby or something like that, and then just grow and get older and bigger and all that. And question about the communities they live in as well. How it works with them. Do they have a lot of relationships? Do they get on with their fellows? Do they have friendships? How does it work, do you think?
Yeah, there has been a lot of speculation and not a whole lot of information about this. Certainly, when I talked to Dolly Safran, she answered some of my questions in this area.
Wow.
So I had heard it from others, but I wanted more clarification of what's going on here, because as near as I can tell, because I have no reports of any galactic federation, any government, any federalized system, any rankings of people higher than the other. As near as I can tell, the various ET groups are all interconnected. They all communicate and all are aware of each other on a very deep telepathic level. They're very cooperative.
Wow.
There is no money. And yes, they do have friends. There are family groups, babies as well. Yes, many reports of tiny little grays and who are, infants. Not just, people talk about seeing short grays and tall grays and mid-size, but no, babies as well, 100%. This is, in fact, a big part of the UFO encounter experience. Both men and women are taken on board and shown babies. Sometimes these are
Oh,
hybrid babies. This is,
hybrid.
yeah, I know that might sound to a skeptic, but got to remember the Greys are us and we are them. They
Yeah.
are
I was
essentially,
wondering if there were, relationships between, or, you know,
so yeah, they have
the
names,
eggs or whatever.
they have families, they eat, they sleep, they go to the bathroom, they breathe. They are very much like us in
Wow.
most ways. I think some of the most pronounced differences are they are spiritually advanced. So you don't see them exhibiting, you
Ego.
know, right or, sadism or torture or wanton destruction or negative emotions, generally speaking. Uh,
Wow.
but yeah, otherwise, they're very much like us. And in many cases, very
Exactly.
loving. I mean, I've talked to people who said they've had an encounter with Greys or what have you, and it was the most loving experience of their life. They've never
Wow.
felt that kind of communion, that kind of absolute connection to someone. One guy told me, he says, I don't know how to describe this to you, but it was like holding my baby for the first time. I just felt absolutely overcome with this sense of love and belonging, and just it was a really wonderful experience. And I've heard this many times.
Wow.
And these stories often don't get the coverage of, say, someone who's scared out of their minds and really
That's
remembers nothing but being taken on board and struggling. And when someone has a very strong panic reaction, often they will have missing time. Often they will view this as a negative experience because they're just so terrified. And as we all know, if you're terrified, you're not a good observer. You're really
no.
not. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 there, trying to get the truth out about the contact experience.
Yeah, that's it. Because humans are going to go in and they're thinking about themselves all the time. So they're so wrapped in about what's happening, they don't actually see what's around them, do they? Unless maybe they've been up more than once. Because the first time, oh my God,
Yeah,
you
and if
think
you've
you're
taken,
dead, don't you? You're up there, you're never going to come back. That's it, end of, bye. But yeah, if you come back down and then it happens again and again, then you're going to notice more what's around you, aren't you?
yeah, and it almost always does. If a person is taken on board, the chances are very high that it will happen again. And at some point, people just get tired of the fear and they're not being hurt. So that's when they wake up. Some
Yeah.
people, I mean, for Dolly Saffron, it occurred at age 14. For another lady I talked to, I'll call her Wendy, she's from Australia. She woke up around her mid 20s. Another guy, Don Anderson from Utah, he was 21 years old. A Gray came in and was bringing his son on board. He's like, I'm going with you. And he said it was a really wonderful, friendly experience. ET's
Wow.
making predictions, and he remembered all his past encounters, which were shrouded in missing time. He said it was like a near-death experience almost, with a life review. Whitley Strieber talked about this. He woke up to contact in midlife. I'm absolutely shocked to find out that he was having experiences his whole life and didn't know it. So this
Is
is,
that through losing time?
yep, yep.
Oh, wow.
So people are contactees often and don't know it until adulthood. But well, they do know it on some level.
Yeah.
But people are very
That,
clever at
the
explaining away.
mind probably hides it because of the shock.
Yeah, people deny it, they explain it away, they don't think about it. But the pattern is clear. Contact usually starts at a very young age, generally 3, 4, 5,
Wow.
and onwards. And it comes in spurts and waves. And uh, generally speaking, it's generational too. If you're having contact, I can almost say without, you know, any doubt that your parents have had contact too, or maybe an aunt or an uncle or
Wow.
grandparents certainly, or your children, because this is
Interesting.
something they do track genetic lines. So very interested in genetics, preserving our genetics, preserving the best of our genetics. And you'll see the people who are contacted are often really good people. They're very psychic. There are people who are working hard for the benefit of humanity. I realized this quite some time ago. I remember when it really came to me because I had this lady from Norway had contacted me because of my interest in UFO healing cases. And she's like, I was healed. They healed me of chronic back pain. I'm like, oh, really? Have you had an encounter before of this? She said, no. This was a one off, which is quite unusual. That does happen. I'm like, huh. That didn't fit the pattern, but this does happen. So I was confused. And I'm just asking her all these questions about what happened to her. She had three grays come in, basically flip her around in bed like a rag doll, place something against her back, and healed her of chronic back pain from a
My
prior
gosh.
injury. And I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? She says, I'm retired. I was an artist, but now I'm retired, and please don't use my name because I'm very active in my community. I'm well
Okay.
known. She says, I work for human rights and animal rights.
Wow.
And a
Okay.
bell went off in my head because I instantly thought of 5 other cases that I had personally investigated involving social workers, environmentalists, people who work against racism. I thought, oh my
Wow.
gosh, there's a lot of doctors too, and teachers, and artists, and musicians, and inventors. There was a guy in England. Here's a real good case. Fred White from Durham, England, had seen a UFO, and he was hospitalized at some point for chest pain, diagnosed with a hole in his heart,
Wow.
and he was about to have surgery. When in walks this weird human-looking figure, basically human, but very pale complexion, large eyes, and said, I'm here to heal you. We're very interested in your work in electronics. It's very important that you can continue your work. He was an
Wow.
inventor and healed him using this weird device, right? His pain goes away, he can breathe clearly. Then the doctors come in to wheel him off to surgery, and he's like, who was that doctor? The weird looking guy with the big eyes.
Huh.
And we're looking at him like, you're crazy. There's been no one in your room. He's like, no, there was, and I'm fine, I'm feeling better. I don't want surgery. I'm like, you need surgery. Look at your x-rays here. He's like, take more x-rays right now. And they did, and the hole in his heart was gone. It was gone.
My gosh.
This is one, about 10 or 20% of the healing cases I've documented actually take place in a hospital. Yes, they are among us.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's amazing. The healing cases represent really good, solid evidence. But this is a good example of, again, the benevolence of ETs. Not only are they healing people, but they're healing those who are helping others, trying to do good work for humanity.
Yeah. Jill. Oh, just trying to click that. No, the wrong one. They want to advance enough technology the same way they did. That's true. And Jill, many amazing testimonials. Love hearing your perspectives today. Thank you, Preston. Such intrigue with you. But yeah, your stories look like they're not what I think. Like you see bits of UFOs, but you don't realize like what they try and do for people.
Yeah, it's
And
funny
if
to me
there is,
because
like with a medical issue, that's obvious. There's an X-ray to prove it.
right.
And then
Yeah, and here are our governments talking
oh,
about simple sightings. And I was looking at all the, arguing going on in the UAP reports and the Pentagon reports. And, they're talking about sightings and arguing whether or not these are weather balloons or technology or even ET. Not once did they mention humanoids. Not once did they mention any UFO landing case. And there are hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. Not once did they talk about Betty and Barney Hill or Travis Walton or Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson, or the
wow,
many, many cases of people who claim to have had direct contact. The cover-up is still in place. Make no mistake about it. And our governments absolutely 100% know this is ET. They
oh
have the
yeah,
craft, they have the bodies, and they are lying, flat out lying about it. We know this. This is not speculation. This is demonstrably true through documents received through the Freedom of Information Act here in the US, but from hundreds upon hundreds of whistleblowers as well. We know
yeah,
this.
Yeah, there's a massive. Well, there was a massive one. I forget his name. He was connected with the U.S. government, wasn't he, or Roswell? And he sort of came out about it all. But yeah,
Yeah,
you
Jesse
know, but
Marcel.
it's just fantastic when people can come out and I just wish to sort of say it as it is now because we want to know. People can deal with it better now. Definitely,
Yeah,
it seems that way.
it's
Has
time
anyone
to.
got any questions for Preston while he's actually speaking to us? So if you had any questions to the chat, and I'll ask them. But
I think it's
yeah,
time we stop calling UFOs UFOs. They're not unidentified. We
no,
know
they're
what
not. Sorry. Yeah,
they are.
I know.
It's not a mystery.
It's a terrible term, isn't it? Sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm not pleased with it.
No, I can understand that. Yeah.
And our government's calling them UAPs, like that's any better. That's
Yeah.
just to
They
me.
have to. They have to put like initials to everything, don't they? All the time. Like I moved to a job like 5 years ago, and everything had like three initials. And I was like, what does that mean? And it was a nightmare. So Eric, if you listen to a few of our presidents, they've actually said there's alien life.
Yep, 100%. All the presidents at some point makes very interesting and intriguing statements about this subject. I
Yeah.
mean, President Jimmy Carter said flat out that he'd seen a UFO, and he
Wow.
wrote the message for the Voyager spacecraft
Oh yeah.
to ETs flat out, saying it was clear that he had been briefed and knew that this was a real subject. But President Reagan as well, when he was governor, had seen UFOs. I did a whole study of world leaders who've seen UFOs or had encounters, and a
Yeah.
lot of them have. The president of Mexico, the president of Brazil, uh, president of Iran, I think it was. There was
My gosh.
um, Kirk, province in Russia. I forget which one it is. His name is hard to pronounce. Ilyumzinov, I believe it was, came
Right.
forward and talked about how he had been taken on board to another planet.
My gosh.
Yeah, he went forward. To his credit, I mean, that had to take a lot of courage to put your
Yeah,
reputation
definitely.
on the line.
That society.
But the mayor of Ohio, Governor Gilligan, the mayor of Arizona, Fife Symington, said he was a witness to the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
So,
So the current president then he's mentioned something then?
I am not sure which President
Bi-
Biden.
Biden? I don't know.
Um,
Yeah.
it's I'm sure he has at some point. Each
Yeah.
of them do. I know Ford talked all about it because President Ford was a representative of Michigan when they had a whole wave of sightings. And he
Wow.
promised to get to the bottom of it. Never did talk much after he became president, but there were stories about Nixon, Eisenhower, Kennedy, all of them. Even Obama talked about it, Clinton, Trump. Yeah, they all have something to say.
See, ours don't say a lot. Our government hardly says anything on the topic. Well, I've not heard it.
Yeah, it's quite infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is so quiet. This is something Mandy, Jan, where have been the most sightings of UFO in the world then?
Trick question. Well, I mean, this is one thing UFO researchers 100% agree upon. This is a global phenomenon. There is
Yeah.
not a place on this planet that doesn't have a history of sightings, and you can dig into this. Here in the U.S., California, it leads the nation in terms of the sheer number of reports.
Is that Silicon Valley?
Well, not solely, but up. California is a rather large state.
Well, yeah.
But
Puerto
it
Rico
is the
and
most
everything
popular. So I think we have 40 million people in California, so it's no
Wow.
surprise that it gets the most reports.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's everywhere. It really, really is. Florida has a lot. Washington, Texas, New Mexico, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Georgia. Michigan. I mean, it's really hard to pin this down because there, like I mentioned earlier, there are areas which do seem to have more activity.
Yeah.
But in terms of the sheer number of reports, California, I do know,
Yeah. And you're
leads the
just
nation.
trying to nail why, really. I'm
Yeah,
trying to understand it.
I think it's because, for a number of reasons, we have the most people. There's a lot of UFO researchers in California, which is
Yeah.
somewhat new
They go
age.
out looking and noting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the subject has gotten a lot of attention here, and people are a little bit more open to something like that in California than perhaps another area.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's a lot of reasons. A lot of military bases in California. Edwards is a UFO
Interesting.
magnet, and we know there's a connection there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, anything nuclear too. The ETs are on top of it. They are very, very concerned about that. So you can look at any nuclear missile base, any nuclear power station, any nuclear powered craft of any kind, and dollars to donuts, they have multiple sightings over them.
Yeah. I think last time you were on, you mentioned the story like where somebody actually let some missiles off, but the ETs like just stopped it from happening.
Yeah, Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana in 1967, UFOs dropped down and basically shut down multiple intercontinental nuclear tipped ballistic missiles,
Wow.
which, mind you, are over a very large area. Each is an independent system, and yet
Wow.
all of them went down. And I got to talk to a first-hand witness who was there and watched it happen. His story is incredible. Mel Hansen, he was right at the missile site. His crew basically maintained missile sites. He was the head of his crew and saw the stars being occluded as this giant object came over the missile site and shut it down. And he says it went back online with diesel power, a diesel generator,
Okay.
and that shut down. And it went back online again with its second failsafe, which is a battery, and that went down.
Yeah.
And the security came, and he was shipped off to the base central, which is many miles away. It took him like 45 minutes to get there, and was told, "You are never to talk about this." And he didn't for years until he heard someone talking about it on TV. And he's like, "Well, screw it." He's an old man. He wants to do his part for disclosure. What are they going to do to him? You know, he's almost ready to leave this world. And he contacted me, and I was able to share his story and confirm the Malmstrom incident, which has been confirmed by multiple witnesses already.
Yeah. But it's beautiful when you can get the confirmation yourself and actually speak to somebody who was there, you know, a witness to the event. And you've spoken to so many witnesses, haven't you? And it's just fantastic.
It's become my life's work. You know, I'm on a mission. I think
everyone's got a mission in life, and yeah, this is yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm having a good time. I find it really fascinating.
And you meet so many people
Yeah.
on your journey. And yeah. So what have you got lined up now then?
Oh, I'm always busy. I've got a series of interviews lined up. You know, I'm still publicizing my latest two books, Symmetry, True UFO Adventure, and Not From Here, Volume 4. That's a series of books I've put out about the really weird cases of contact. So I'm writing another volume of that, Volume 5. I'm going to put out another book on people who've had very close encounters. I'm writing another about out-of-body experience because I think that's something everyone should try. It's so amazing. Oh my gosh, look it up. If you're listening to this show, please just check out my book or Robert Monroe's or William Buhlman. You can do it. This is a natural human talent, and it's so much fun. You can visit your deceased loved ones.
I read about it in the 80s. I don't know. Somehow I borrowed a book. Somebody got like loads of books in the house, and I was drawn to it. And I remember somebody's shopping or something. I was in a car park just reading this book on it, and like the methods of doing it as well. Astral travel. You just like you roll over in bed or something. That was one of the methods that the book mentioned, and it's like, wow, you know.
Not hard to do. Everyone's
And,
doing it every night. You just have to
I was
remember.
just so, it was mind blowing in this car park. And then like people come in with the shopping, and it's like, well, I couldn't even mention it because it's just too mind blowing. It was, and like now, like I talk to spirits, so that's like I've just changed so much since those days. Well,
Well,
life changes you, doesn't
I'm
it?
glad you're
Yeah.
doing this show because it's important people know these things.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it will change your life for the better. It's
Well,
really
yeah, if you can, like, go and, who needs to go on holiday? Like, you just at night, you go and take yourself somewhere, can't you?
yeah, you
Um,
sure can.
do they time travel? Do you know? With the
Yeah,
lost time, you get a lost time, don't you? So,
yeah. I mean, that's a very complicated subject, and I don't think it's quite like
yeah.
people think. But they can take people back in time essentially, not in
Wow.
terms of changing things because they don't do that, but they can show you events from the distant past. They can warn you about future events to a certain extent,
Yeah.
pull you out of the time stream. So there are many cases of people who are, say, taken on board, taken from their home, have a long, involved 2 hour, 3 hour, days long even experience, and come back only minutes later. That happens quite a bit, actually. Dolly Saffron had that experience many times.
My
We go
gosh.
quite a bit into that in our book, Symmetry. So, yeah, they can time travel, but they're not us from the future or anything like that. I have no evidence of that.
Okay. Yeah. That's the thing about mediumship. You sort of your loved ones come through and they bring messages about your future. So it must mean like after there is no time, and they can obviously see what happens in the future, can't they? Like the
Yeah,
one you
you
not to
can
do
too.
things. So
If
yeah,
you start doing astral projection, you'll see time starts to, it's a different experience on the other side.
wow,
It's more like a landscape you can travel and visit to a certain extent.
yeah,
Uh, but I think the more advanced you get, probably the more you'll understand it. But it's absolutely something that
yeah. I think
is
I
a
need to
product
read
of
up on that
physical
more.
plane, sequential time.
Definitely. So where do we find you then? Are your books all on Amazon, or have you got a website?
Yeah, you can find my books on Amazon or other online retailers.
Yeah,
My website's easy to find. Just punch my name in. The actual
yeah.
address is prestondennett.weebly.com. But yeah, I'm all
Okay.
over social media: Facebook,
Yeah,
Twitter,
and
Instagram.
you've got you follow us on YouTube. You do a lot of YouTube accounts, don't you? It's
I'm having
fantastic.
lots of fun with YouTube. Yeah, some people don't
A lot
like
of
to read books, so yeah, I present all my research on YouTube as well. I'm not in
yeah.
this for the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame.
No,
Uh,
that's what I value. Like people I talk to, it's people who aren't in it for the fame or the money. It's like real people. As soon as
yeah,
people are in with the egos, I'm not interested.
there's
And
not a whole lot of money in it anyway. And if you're expecting fame, or you're gonna get a shock because more people will roll their eyes at you,
yeah,
and
exactly.
raise their eyebrows, and kind of
Yeah,
snigger behind your back. But yeah, I think it's an important subject. I really do.
that's
And
it's
it's so
it's just lovely what you're trying to do. And just getting the word out. It's fascinating. It really is.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks.
And if whoever has watched tonight, if could take something with them, if they would have gained some sort of knowledge, something
Yeah.
they haven't thought of, and if some of the things I've heard tonight, like I didn't even consider, even the
That's
moon,
my hope.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's absolutely my hope. My hope that people just leave fear behind, stop listening to our lying governments. If you want to have these experiences, whether it's a UFO or an out of body experience or what have you, you can. Uh, just live life and have fun and recognize that we are not alone in this universe.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, just to think we were all alone. It's just so wrong, isn't it? It's just a massive place. You can't quite, you just can't imagine, can you? You can't even imagine what you can see with your own eyes. Oh,
It's awesome.
distances and light years away and all that jazz. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, Jill will be following everything. That's great.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jill. Awesome.
But wow, it's just been amazing again. Thank you so much. And I wish you luck on all of your books and everything. But yeah, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Jacqueline. I appreciate that. I will. I love doing
Yeah,
it.
because you keep posting on my page and it's great. Please carry on. Because, I'm just fascinated about what you write, your interviews and everything like that. It's just totally fascinating. It really is.
It's
But
awesome to
yeah.
hear. Yeah.
And you've got drawings in there as well. And yeah, it's cool. It's brilliant. But thank you. So, Caroline, really interesting. Mandy and Jan, totally mind blowing. And yeah. But yeah, thank you so much and look after yourself, won't you? And thanks to everyone who's commented, everyone who's watched. Thank you so much. And you know how to contact Preston. He's on YouTube, books as well. And yeah, but yeah, take care. And I'll put all the information out there anyway for you to see. Because Preston sent it earlier. But thanks so much, everyone. Thank you and goodbye. Thanks, Preston. Bye.